Happy Jimmy Buffett Friday, everyone. It's that time of day when we take a moment and pause and say thanks to everyone who's making the world run. Let's start with the men and women in the military, police officers, firefighters, doctors, nurses, lab technicians, hospital orderlies, small business owners, restaurateurs, truck drivers, everyone working at the grocery stores and fast food joints, the Port of Los Angeles and Union Station, the pilots and flight attendants. Let's listen to the chief parrot head himself, Mr. Jimmy Buffett, sing the national anthem. And a very happy Friday to you at 12:07 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, The John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wang has the day off. He is on vacation, and he should be back with us on Monday, unless, of course, there's weather in Dallas. He's not in Dallas. He's in New Mexico. But whenever I can't get a flight from any particular city to any other particular city that doesn't involve Dallas, whenever there's a delay or a cancellation, the explanation is always there's weather in Dallas. So anyway, hopefully Randy will be back with us Monday at noon right here on AM 790 KABC. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, I want to revisit a story that we talked about earlier this week with KABC legal analyst Royal Oakes, because we picked up on it. It was a factoid in a story about something else. It was a story about Dianne Feinstein suing the trust that her late husband, Dick Blum, had established. Dick died last year, and as part of his trust, he put his business buddies on as trustees, and they were the ones that are supposed to disperse the money and do what Dick wanted them to do. As it turns out, apparently, Dick's grown children from his first marriage aren't particularly fond of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, the grieving widow, or Dianne Feinstein's daughter, Catherine, a former judge who's currently a fire commissioner in San Francisco. And because the trust and the widow and her daughter are at odds, the trust apparently did not pay Dianne Feinstein's medical bills when she contracted the shingles and had to be hospitalized and missed a couple of months' worth of work. She feels entitled to have those bills paid, as any widow would, and took the trust to court saying they aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing with the money. As part of her lawsuit, it was revealed that her daughter, Catherine, has full control over Dianne Feinstein. She has essentially the ability to legally speak for her mother. Power of attorney, they call it. Because her mother, according to the lawsuit, needs someone to be able to be in charge of her affairs because she's incapable of doing that. And what's so interesting about this lawsuit and that factoid is the argument that Dianne Feinstein made in court, or I guess I should say, the argument that Dianne Feinstein's daughter made in court, that Feinstein is not mentally capable of making her own decisions, is the exact opposite argument that we heard from Dianne Feinstein when she went back to work. As a sitting U.S. Senator, you have to write legislation, you have to participate in committee hearings, you have to vote, you have to debate, you have to compromise, you have to travel across the country, you have to have meetings with other legislators and meetings with constituents back home in your state. It's an extremely demanding job that few people are able to do. She's been there a long time, first elected in 1992, and she understands how demanding the job is. And the question that arises is, if you're too mentally feeble to make your own financial decisions, make decisions surrounding your own life, how is it that you're capable of performing the demanding duties of a U.S. Senate? She's saying one thing in her court documents to the judge and the exact opposite thing to the rest of the world when she showed back up to Washington, D.C. to be a senator. In addition to giving power of attorney to her daughter, it was also revealed that Dianne Feinstein essentially needs 24-hour care. She has caregivers that live with her, caregivers that take care of her. They cook her meals. They help her get around from point A to point B. She's 90 years old. It's something that you would expect from a 90-year-old, particularly one in poor health. But if it weren't for this lawsuit, we would never know these details. We would be told that she was fine, everything's hunky-dory, everything is fantastic, and you can't prove otherwise. But because of this lawsuit, we know the truth. And the reality is that this is not something that's unique to Dianne Feinstein. People lie about their health all the time. In fact, if you think about your own personal life, who's the person you lie to the most? I know many of you regard yourselves as honest people. You try to do right by you and the world. You try to treat people with respect. But at our core, most of us are pathological liars when it comes to one part of our life, and that's our health. The person I lie to the most, including every single time I see him, is my doctor. And I'm sure many of you do too. Every time I go in that doctor's office and I sit there on the table and I'm staring at the doctor, who's a guy in a suit, and he's wearing the white coat, and he's got a clipboard, and he's got a pen, and he sits there asking you questions that in any other circumstance would be totally out of bounds. But because he's your doctor, he has a right to ask, because there's a method to the madness. He needs to know certain things about you. What I do when I'm in that circumstance is I study my doctor's face very closely. And based on the reactions I get with his facial expressions, I try to figure out what the right answer is. Because you and me both know I'm not going to tell him the truth. So they start asking you questions, rapid fire, and you try to figure out what you need to say to satisfy him. And you also get real tricky with how you use words. So, John, how often do you drink? Answer: only for celebrations. What my doctor doesn't know is I was referring to every time I celebrate dinner. Question: John, how often do you eat fish? Me? Answer: several times a week. What he doesn't know is that fish is cut up into sticks and deep fat fried. John, how often do you exercise? Answer: well, sometimes I do in the evening. I go for a jog. What he doesn't know is that I'm chasing the ice cream truck. You just tell the doctor all the information they need to know, and you leave everything else out, because that's just something that you keep as a little secret for yourself. When you're a public person, many of these questions are expected to be answered in some kind of public forum. You're a U.S. senator. You're a politician. You're a head of state. Whatever the case may be, you're expected to answer these questions. There's been a huge controversy right now. I don't know if you've been following it. Huge controversy surrounding the actor Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx, who is one of the most popular movie actors in America, became ill. And he just disappeared for a very long time. It was reported by A.J. Benza that he believed that Jamie Foxx was having a complication due to the COVID-19 vaccine. Jamie Foxx and his people are denying that, but something happened to Jamie Foxx. And whatever story it is that they're putting out there, no one believes. He's a public person. He's not an elected official, but people are concerned about Jamie Foxx's health. People want to know, is Jamie Foxx going to be okay? Is he going to continue to act in the movies? Is he going to continue to act on television? What's going on with Jamie Foxx? And he knew he had to put something out there, and he gave one explanation, and I guess he figures he checked that box and that's all he needs to do. But very few people are believing what Jamie Foxx said, again, because people always lie about their health. Which leads me to Joe Biden. We're told by the White House that Joe Biden is in perfect health. He exercises, he eats right. Hell, the man's married to a doctor. Joe, they say, is perfectly healthy for an 81-year-old man. There's nothing wrong with Joe. Yet, every time you see him, he's doing face plants on the stage because he falls over a bag full of sand. He's falling down as he's walking up the stairs, not down the stairs. He can't remember who he is. He can't remember where he is. He can't remember who he's talking to. He's constantly sniffing people's heads. That I still don't understand. I don't know if that's dementia or I don't know if that's perversion or what. But he likes to sniff people. He spends more time sniffing than stockbrokers with a cocaine problem. But that's Joe Biden. Then we saw the picture of him at the beach. Did you see this? Joe and Dr. Jill are on vacation at the beach. And Joe was out on the sand with his shirt off. And let me tell you, if you haven't seen Joe Biden with his shirt off, you're a lucky person. He looks like he had a D cup. I don't know who's in more need of a bra, him or Dr. Jill. But that man topless on the beach was grotesque. And the body of an 81-year-old man also looked like Starry Night. I was trying to figure out a way to describe it, but what he looked like with his shirt off was a jack-o'-lantern on November the 3rd. Just starting to wilt in all the wrong places. And they tell us that Joe Biden is a paragon of health. Fitness guru. Always in the gym. Pumping iron. A regular Tony Little. Jack LaLanne. Could be swimming across the English Channel pulling a tugboat with his teeth. And you know what? I don't buy any of it. I don't. If you look at that picture of Joe Biden on the beach, you're not thinking to yourself, this guy's going to be running marathons anytime soon. You don't think to yourself, this guy's going to be running for re-election a little over a year from now. A little over a year from now, the only thing that guy's going to need is for someone to mow above him once a week. That's the takeaway I have. And if there is something wrong with Joe Biden's health, whether it be his mental health, his physical health, whatever, this I am confident of. I am confident that they will not tell us the truth because they never tell us the truth. They were caught lying about Dianne Feinstein's health. We see these celebrities caught lying all the time. And with Joe Biden, it's not like he's some movie star. It's not like he's one U.S. senator of 100. And even though senators are powerful, you're 1/100th of 1/2 of 1/3 of the government. If you're the president, you're in charge of 1/3 of the government. You're in charge of the entire executive branch. And if he's sick or in ill health or losing his mind, they certainly don't want our allies and our enemies to be aware of it. They not only have to lie about his health to keep us happy, they have to lie about his health to keep peace in the world. Because if we look vulnerable, if we look like we have an invalid in charge of the government, then Kim Jong-un is going to pay attention to it. Iran is going to pay attention to it. All these terrorist organizations are going to be paying attention to it. And hell, the Chinese have already probably seen pictures of him shirtless on the beach from that blimp. So we're not telling them anything they already didn't know. But there's zero chance they would be honest. Zero chance. So from the point of view of us as voters, and from the point of view of us as members of the news media, what we have to do when we evaluate the health of a politician or an athlete or a Hollywood star is you just kind of have to absorb as much information as possible, use your brain, and figure out the answer for yourself with the assumption that everything they tell you is meant to manipulate you into thinking what they want you to think. And I've got to tell you, the more I watch Joe Biden, the more I observe his actions, the more I observe him giving speeches and conducting interviews and those sorts of things, and the more I examine the behavior of others in the Democratic Party, namely Gavin Newsom, who is running for president. He's raising money. He's putting together political action committees. He's developing a nationwide database so he can email people and raise money from people with this constitutional amendment that's going nowhere fast. He's debating Ron DeSantis on the Fox News channel. He's traveling all around the country. He's getting himself booked on all the national shows. He's running for president. And he wouldn't be doing that if he was of the belief that Joe Biden was going to be a shoo-in as the Democratic nominee in 2024. I don't think that Gavin Newsom is doing what he's doing because he plans on challenging Joe Biden in the Democratic primary. I think Gavin Newsom is doing what he's doing because he doesn't think Joe Biden's going to last that long. And if Joe Biden doesn't last that long, someone has to be the standard bearer for the Democratic Party. And they know that Kamala Harris is not capable of doing that. And you look at the rest of them who could theoretically step in and be that person, they all have problems. Bernie Sanders is 900 years old too. Pocahontas is not far behind him. The rest of them that ran last time, they were flops. They're not going to win a general election. So Gavin Newsom is putting his chips on Joe Biden having something go wrong and the Democrats needing to break the glass in case of an emergency. And if they have to break glass in case of emergency, Gavin Newsom wants himself to be the answer, which is why he's doing what he's doing. So here's my question to you right now at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you believe, given everything that you've seen, heard, and read, that Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024? They got caught lying to us about Dianne Feinstein's health. Joe Biden, I believe, is lying to us about his health. There's something going on that is giving Gavin Newsom the motivation to essentially run a shadow campaign for the presidency. He certainly thinks Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee. What say you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think Grampy Joe is going to hold on long enough to be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your calls coming up, but right now it's time to take a look at the roads. It's 12:32 on this Jimmy Buffett Friday on the John Phillips Show, Talk Radio 790 KABC. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And with the weekend on the horizon, if you want to listen to us on Saturday or Sunday, just go ahead and download the podcast edition of this program wherever you download your favorite podcasts, and you can listen to us anytime you want. Dianne Feinstein got caught saying something completely different in court about her health than what she's saying publicly. Publicly, she says she's fine. Privately, she's given power of attorney over her affairs to her daughter because she says she's incapable of doing it, of running her own life. Given that, do you believe Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024? We're being told that he's as healthy as an ox. Do you believe it? Do you believe he'll be around and on the ballot in 2024? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your calls coming up, but right now it's time for headlines. It's 12:38 on this Jimmy Buffett Friday on the John Phillips Show, Talk Radio 790 KABC. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Lonnie Leitner joins us. Right now we're taking your calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. The Feinsteins were caught lying about Dianne Feinstein's physical health. Publicly, she says she's fine. Privately, she's given power of attorney to her daughter because she says she's incapable of running her own affairs. We're also being told that Joe Biden is perfectly fine. Do you believe they're telling the truth and he'll be the Democratic nominee for president in 2024? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with Denise in Laverne. Denise, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on. Definitely Biden is not capable of running again. He's not even capable of running this country now. Last election, he ran from his basement, which I still don't understand how he won. But he can't. There's no excuse for him this time. He can't hide from a pretend pandemic in his basement while running for president. What's he going to do this time when Trump is out and about everywhere? And as you mentioned, Gavin is all over the country too. I just don't know how Biden can do it.
I don't think you can put him on a plane and have him change time zones every single day and put him in Holiday Inn after Holiday Inn after Holiday Inn in city after city and not have this man's life totally fall apart. At some point, if you do that to him, he's either going to have some kind of catastrophic medical event or he's going to say something that's even more insane than the stuff that he's already said. He's going to show up on stage one day and say, so I was just on the phone with Lyndon Johnson. Let me tell you what he told me. And I don't know how you go back from that. I don't know how you paper over that. Whenever he trips, whenever he falls, whenever he's confused, whenever he tries to shake hands with someone who's not there, they just kind of laugh it off and make excuses for it. Eventually, he's going to do something that's going to be so outrageous and it's going to make it so obvious that he's lost his mind that they're going to be forced to do something. They're going to be forced to say something. And I don't know exactly how they'll handle that. Let's go to John in Santa Monica. John, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, John, I don't think he will make it. He's got 1 year. That's a lot of time to degenerate. And I think he will be in. It only takes a simple majority to start an impeachment process. And I just watched the Tucker Carlson interview with Devin Archer. He interviewed him. And let me tell you, man, they are going to get the smoking gun. They are going to find the money. And these guys are really on it. So it's payback, and it's also the fact. And it's bribery is one of the actual stated in the Constitution. Bribery is a cause. You don't have to come up with misdemeanors or whatever. So I think that Obama is the czar behind the curtain. He's the wizard. And all of his Obama people are in his staff and behind the scenes writing everything. I believe Obama will organize him to be sidelined. And that'll happen either before they do the vote for an impeachment, and they won't get to the Senate, so he's not going to get convicted. But this impeachment hearing will be it will go around the media. The media is blocking it. But as this impeachment thing is now officially in Congress, and they have their July 21st hearing thing like the Democrats did, it is going to dirty him up so bad. And combined with his health, that Obama will pull the plug on him, and they will do it. I don't know how. You might exponentiate on how they pull the plug on him, because the other problem then is they got Kamala Harris. Do they tell her to take a walk and bring in Hoopenslopper from California? I mean, I don't know what the logistics are of there, but I don't think he'll make it when you add the two together: his health and the pressure of an impeachment hearing.
Well, I'll tell you this. I do not believe Democrats will ever sign on for impeachment, and you would need them to sign on for impeachment to get him convicted in the Senate. And they won't do it for a bunch of reasons. First and foremost is it's a bad look for the party to have your president impeached. But secondly, then they're stuck with Kamala. If you impeach him, she becomes president, she becomes an incumbent, and there's no way you can take that away from her. She will be your horse that you have to run in November, and that puts them in a situation where a weak candidate would be the standard bearer of the party. And if you try to challenge her, you're going to have not only have to run against her, but you're going to have to run against the entire machine that is the Democratic Party. It's very hard to beat an incumbent. It's very hard to beat an incumbent president. It's been tried a few times. Ronald Reagan tried it with Gerald Ford, and Ted Kennedy tried it with Jimmy Carter. In neither case were they successful, and they upset a lot of people in the process. If they're going to move on from Joe, they're going to have him bow out. They're going to have him announce that there's some health event, and he's going to focus on being president the rest of his term, and that would then create an open field. And if there's an open field, that's how you can end up with a Gavin Newsom or some other candidate that's stronger than Kamala. But if you impeach him, you have no choice if you're the Democrats. Kamala is your candidate, and that would be a disaster for them. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up, but right now it's time for KABC. It's 1248. The John Phillips Show, Talk Radio 790 KABC, the Fix California Hour, coming up after the news at 1. Let's go to Allie in Beverly Hills. Allie, you're on KABC. Hello. Okay, let's go to Richard in Los Angeles. Richard, you're on KABC. Okay, let's see if we can avoid a hat trick. Paige in Los Angeles. Paige, welcome. Oh, okay, let's go to Joe. Joe, you're on KABC.
Hey, how you doing? It sounds like you guys are doing fine. I'm doing fine, and I just have a comment about Biden. I do believe that nitwit will run again. He'll just run from the basement, and he can certainly count on people to vote for him. It'll be the same nitwits that voted for him last time. There's too many people that will vote for him just because they don't like Trump, and that's just screwed up. People don't know how to vote anymore, and we don't have enough people out there that actually do take the time to vote.
Yeah, voter participation, even in presidential elections, is never close to 100%. There are a lot of people who decide to just take a pass for one reason or another. Now, some people just aren't into politics. They don't follow it. They don't regard themselves as informed. Other people just don't like either side. They don't like the choices that they're given, and so they vote with their feet by staying home. And I wish they would show up and vote like me. Let's go to Frank in San Pedro. Frank, you're on KABC. Hello. Frank, are you there?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, yeah. Can you hear me, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. I believe that Joe Biden's puppet masters, the people behind him that are making every move possible, are going to do everything they possibly can to stay in control and keep that power from being relinquished from them. That's what I think. However, he doesn't belong there at all. Not the first term, or absolutely not for the second term. The Democrats are going to have a hell of a time dealing with that problem if he has a serious hiccup between now and election time.
All right. Thanks for the call, sir. Let's go to Michael in Sherman Oaks. Michael, welcome.
Hey, John. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, my question is, if Joe Biden was running for president, which I don't think he's going to run again, he might want to try, but I believe health-wise he's going to have I wish nothing ill on the man, but something bad is going to happen. So where is his fundraising apparatus? Where's his state captain in California? Where's his national reelection chairman? Where are all these people that need to be in place so that he can raise the money? Now, I think he wants to raise the money because he's going to keep it when he doesn't run, but wouldn't you have all those people in place now if you were running?
Absolutely. That's a good point. He doesn't have a lot of people on the payroll for his reelection. Maybe he's just saving money because he doesn't regard the Democratic primary as being particularly competitive, or maybe it's something else. We really don't know. Let's go to Paige. Paige in L.A. She called back.
Hi. He's got dementia. My dad had dementia. I thought he had dementia when he first ran. Not the first time, but, in 2020. And I don't think, honestly, how progressive dementia, and when you get to be that age, especially among men, and I don't think men and women should be held in equal category when it comes to age, because women live longer and they also are, generally speaking, keep their wits about them longer. But I think it's highly likely he will die of old age before the election, and if not, within a year or two, if he were to be elected. That's what I think, based
All
on
right.
my father.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to Danny in Toluca Lake. Danny, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, Danny. John, thank you. I'm Danny. Listen,
enough.
I think that unless something crazy goes down between now and then, that Biden is going to stay on the ticket because they know a lot of people will just vote for him because they hate Trump, or because this is just their force of habit with Democrats. But I think that what's going to happen, I think Newsom is going to be on the VP ticket, and they're talking about that now, because that way, if something happens during the second term, guess who steps up? And, Kamala Harris has always been kind of a drag on the ticket, so I think that she somehow will be, maybe they'll promise her attorney general or something like that, or she will just step aside to spend time with her family.
I thought you only stepped aside to spend time with your family when you said something racist.
Oh, well, okay.
Or is that rehab?
By the way, I like the line of your of the pumpkin. I think Biden could end up looking like a pumpkin on Thanksgiving, and they'd still run him.
Thanks for the call, sir. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's 12:58 on this Jimmy Buffett Friday on the John Phillips Show. Let's go to Chris in Westlake. Chris, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, John, how you doing? I think the most unhealthy thing about Joe has got to be his conscience. I mean, I can't believe he actually won for president with the dirt, that he has on with him and Hunter. It's obviously they were, 100 married in this corruption thing that's going on. And do you honestly believe that he believes that turning off the oil, opening the border and everything, do you really think that he believes in that? I mean, look at it this way. The Democrats had their chance and they blew it. Anybody who votes for the Democrats again has got to be out of their mind. And, I'm all here, and sometimes I think I'm wasting my time because I'm speaking to California, but it's time for everyone to start talking it up and, realize what's going on here.
Well, in terms of whether or not he believes it, Joe is just the figurehead of the movement. The movement believes in all of those things. Joe spent the greater part of his adult life trying to become president. He got it after his Best By date, which is, I guess, makes him like Charlie Brown on the football a little bit. But he's going to do whatever it is that he has to do to keep his side happy and to stay in power as long as he possibly can. We just don't know how long that'll be.